Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Lab4U Talks. Today, I have a special guest, a great mentor, a great advisor, and an education technology entrepreneur who is changing the world. He is a genius engineer that I'm going to introduce right away, a great friend and mentor, Sylvain Kalache. Thank you so much, Sylvain, for joining Lab4U Talks.
Hey, Kamal, happy to be here.
No, I'm very happy. And for our audience who's listening, I met Sylvain in San Francisco. We were in an event, a startup event, a Cartier startup event, right?
That's correct.
And when I heard what he's doing, training Silicon Valley great tech talent worldwide with Holberton, I was just fascinated by his mission, by his talent, and he's just a really nice guy that helps everyone. And that's how I met him. And when I told him about Lab4U Talks, please join me. And he said, of course. Sylvain Kalache, thank you so much for joining him. He's an entrepreneur, software engineer who's worked in the tech industry for more than a decade. Look at that. He's been building amazing products. He is the co-founder of Holberton School, a 2-year program training highly skilled full stack software engineers inspired by progressive education. We'll speak a little bit about it. Their curriculum is based on peer learning and project-based approach. We love project-based learning at Lab4U. So we're going to speak a little bit about that too. Sylvain, I read in your website, you say what regular schools call cheating, you call it collaboration. So let's start with that. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so I think that education is one of the few things that haven't changed for centuries. If you look at the picture of classrooms centuries ago and today, not much has changed, even though our world has changed drastically. And one of the things that is kind of still here is that when you help someone at school, it's called cheating, right? You are basically not respecting the rules that the schools have defined, and it's very bad. Yet, when you become a professional and within the world of companies, helping someone is called collaboration. And that is just essential for a company to work well. And actually, collaboration is such a hard thing to achieve. And I think that shows how it's our education methodologies are obsolete, and we need to do something about it.
Absolutely. You've told me about the inspiration of Holberton School, and you just spoke about it. I want to understand what today in your years of experience at Holberton, what inspired you initially to start Holberton, and what have you seen as a result of the impact that Holberton School has had in education?
Yeah, so I've for the last 10 years of my life, I've worked for companies, and my interest has been geared toward helping people to become better professionals. I started my career working as a software engineer for SlideShare, which is one of the the biggest source of free content on the internet. So it's like the YouTube for presentation for those who don't know. And then I moved to LinkedIn again as a software engineer, where we empower people to become better professional, connect with one another within their industry, and find their next opportunity. I also co-created Wild42, which became the largest network of French software engineers. And
wow.
through this, I realized that there is this lack of digital talent, not only in Silicon Valley but all across the world, which ultimately, with my co-founder Julien Barbier, inspired us to create Holberton. And Holberton, as you said, is a project-based approach to training the next generation of highly skilled digital talent at scale. And so when we mean scale, we really mean it. In the last 5 years, that we've been building Holberton. We are now in 9 countries, 4 continents, and we've been training software people to become software engineer from Silicon Valley to Tunisia, Colombia, you name it. And what you see is that if you can bring this quality education, you can really use this untapped pool of raw talent, right? William Gibson says that the future is here. Is not just evenly distributed. I think it's the same for talent. Like there is this like raw talent everywhere in the world, but just education is not there. And so I think education and brought by technology has the power to give birth to this talent that now has access to a distributed workforce. I think COVID has really accelerated remote working. And so while, maybe as last year or the year before, you could get a great education, then there is no great job perhaps around you. Well, now that this has changed. So it's a really exciting time to be in education today.
Absolutely. And I love what you say, because at Lab4U, we also believe that talent is universal, but opportunities are not. And Holberton School has democratized tech education so that all those who are entering Holberton School get a job at Google, Tesla, Dropbox, NASA, LinkedIn, Apple, and you can go on and on. I mean, that is wonderful. I need to tell our audience that Sylvain, you worked at LinkedIn. You even know Jeff Winder. I mean, you are related to great folks in tech. What do these leaders in technology, and when we speak about the future of the workforce, you mentioned it. It's today, right? What are the skills that the tech force is looking for, and what do you believe that K-12 education needs so that we prepare our students for the future of the workforce? So let's talk a little bit about the skills development aspect that you've worked at Holberton and what recommendations you have for K-12 education.
Yeah, so Jeff Weiner, who is the executive chairman of LinkedIn, is actually an investor in Holberton, where and an advisor. We are very proud and humble to have him. And actually, Jeff is really visionary, obviously, right? Building LinkedIn when it comes to the future of work. And one thing that he said like a few years ago, he said skills, not degree. And so what he meant by that is that while degree used to be a proxy for finding a job, this is no longer the case, or at least it's fading away.
Right.
Companies are looking for the skills, for the know-how. Like if we take a step back, centuries ago, access to knowledge was the key to be educated, because it was not easily accessible. You had to travel on a horse and go to the monasteries, which might be like very far away and dangerous road, right?
You imagine you and I like on a horse or a camel. My family is from India, so on a camel going to university.
Exactly. Yeah. And you go to the monastery to listen to monks lecturing you. If you were lucky, you could learn how to read and perhaps use the library. Well, all of this now is like, like all the knowledge that you need is right here, like right at your fingertips and becoming widely available. And so access to knowledge is not really an issue anymore. Actually, we have too much knowledge. And now the key is to be able to navigate this ocean of information. And so trying to absorb this knowledge is not the key. Actually, Jack Ma, who is the founder of Alibaba, for those who don't know, is kind of the Amazon of China, right? I think it's a fair way to describe this highly successful company. With really into the education, he said 2 years ago at the World Economic Forum that he was highly concerned about the state of our education, because we are getting students to absorb knowledge and memorize knowledge when computers are built for this and will do this way better than us. And so company, what they are looking for people who are creative, who are critical thinker and problem solver. And so they assume that whatever problems they'll throw at you, you'll find a way to solve it by accessing this knowledge of information that's accessible to you, be it your peers, books, podcasts, YouTube, the internet, basically, right? And so really the key now today is that if you can learn how to learn, then you can achieve anything in your life and you will be a highly desired professional.
Yeah. So what you said, it's key that access to knowledge is not the challenge today. Is how do you build those skills for critical problem solving? You know, that critical thinking and problem solving abilities and skill set. But at schools today, even during COVID, many of the teachers are worried about the content, you know, and we see in education technology many companies that are focused on content, and the curriculum, and how are we organizing the curriculum as opposed to skills. And many of these skills are learned by doing. We learn by doing. We learn by making mistakes. What experience do you have at Holberton, or in the recommendations that Holberton have done to their students to work at these companies where knowledge, do you have an example where knowledge was not enough, that you needed the skill, and how do you develop these skills? At Lab4U, you know, we work with project-based learning, with inquiry-based learning, but I would love to know from you, how do you develop these skills when we know that the challenge is not knowledge or access to information, or ocean of information, as you beautifully put it?
Yeah, so being French, as you may tell.
Yeah, you like words and la langue de Molière, and you know, yeah.
Let's speak about bread. I love bread.
You can write a poem about bread, right?
I can, but actually that's a very good point, right? I can write a poem about bread. I can read, you know, all the recipe from the great bakers on how to make bread until I actually make the bread. I bake the bread. Probably the first one is going to be terrible, right?
Yeah.
Thomas is going to be like, what are you doing, Sylvain? The second one is going to be better. And then as I you know, master my craft, and the ingredients are going to be different from, you know, one place to another. The starter might be different, the water might be different, you know, so many things that will make the way of crafting baking great bread different. So what applies to bread, or let's say tennis, you know, like Serena Williams, she could write a book on how to play tennis, but until you will actually go on the field, like hit the ball, you are not going to be a great tennis player, right? So that sounds obvious. It's the same for any other trade or craft, right? It's by, as you said, it's by practicing, it's by making mistakes and learning from them that you will master the craft. And that's what we believe in at Holberton. Very like Lab4U, we are really aligned on the fact that project-based learning really is what will get students to become great professionals. And that's why at Holberton School we have no formal teachers and no lectures. And people are like, what? How do you do that?
But your students are getting jobs and developing those skills.
They are, exactly. Like, so we have like obviously like staff on site, but they are not here as to share the knowledge. They are here as learning facilitator. We empower students to own their own learning experience, right? And get them to develop ways to acquire the knowledge that they need to learn these crafts. And it worked for you know, so far it's been working in Europe, in Africa, in North America and Latin America. And so, you know, it's working across cultures, across age as well. You know, our students go anywhere from 17 to 58. And I think that for you is showing the age a little below, right? That this type of education is basically for anyone.
Right. And a little bit about the students that attend and that are taking all these this program that you have. You have a very diverse group of students, 30% women, 50% people of color, and they're becoming highly skilled software engineers. And you're proving it with the model. You're proving that through this project-based approach, you're developing these skills. And at Lab4U, we also believe if we are able to develop these skills in students, these competencies through inquiry-based learning, where questions are more important than learning a formula by heart. It's like we always give this example: you cannot learn how to ride a bicycle reading a book, right? You need to live the experience of riding a bike. And the bread example, we like to eat bread, and you're French, I'm from Chile, and there are some good vegan options nowadays. You need to live that experience, you need to practice it, you need to make mistakes. In an experiment, for example, in Lab4U, we want students to make mistakes so that they can learn in the process, right? So that they can think in a different way, through the right pedagogy. And what we've seen in education through so many years is that we know that content and just sharing knowledge is not enough. We need the right pedagogy. We need the right development of skills. And you've seen it at Holberton. What are the gaps? Like, if you had a magic wand, right, Sylvain, Harry Potter kind of. I remember at your place we spoke about that Harry Potter in French, it's not Hogwarts, it's Poudlard, right? So imagine you're Harry Potter and you had a magic wand. What would you do to fill the gaps that we have in K-12 education, so that the students that are coming out of school are prepared for higher ed, therefore for the future of the workforce or the present workforce?
Mm-hmm. I think there is a whole lot of social skills that need to be developed, and I think collaboration and which is an extremely complicated matter, and I cannot summarize it, and none I'm qualified to do so. But it goes through communications. There are so many ways to communicate, having empathy, being able to share ideas or to listen. And I think these skills are valuable as a student, as a professional, or in the social life with your friend, with your family, with your kids, like whoever it is. And so I think social skills are really something that I believe schools should spend more time developing. And the second thing, which is something we've already discussed, but I think is so central to any being, is this ability to learn how to learn and navigate this ocean of information. And I think today's we see how fake news, right, all this information that's accessible to us is overwhelming, and we don't know how to do it. We don't know what's true, what's wrong, what's incomplete or incorrect, and we just don't know. We just don't know how to go about that, and it's having huge impact on our world, from Brexit to political consequences, for instance, in the US, or vaccination. Something that we took for granted for decades now. These are coming back because people are receiving this flow of incorrect information about vaccination, and it's going to grow. The flow of information and knowledge around us is going to grow, and we as humans are not built for that. And I think in K-12 we should already get the kids used to that, and to be smart about it, and to have critical thinking, and to question twice and always ask why. And I think with these tools, then they will be able to navigate the world. But today, like, putting the teacher as the source of truth and the source of knowledge is absolutely wrong. And there is nothing wrong about teachers. I just think they are not leveraged in the best way they should. And I doubt teachers, most of them, they are not fan of lecturing students and reading their book, right? They want to empower their students to be great learners and to understand things and to help them. And so I think we really need to rethink our education, and it starts at a young age.
Absolutely. Sylvain, do you, as we're finishing this conversation, is there something that you want to share with our audience? Because you are so inspiring. I always learn so much from you. Is there something you want to share?
Yeah, I think something that's often stick to people's mind is to compare this great saying that says that if you give a man a fish, you will feed him for a day, but if you teach this man to fish, you will feed him for a lifetime. And so I think the same applies to education. It's not about giving the knowledge, but it's about empowering the students to be able to get the knowledge by themselves. And I think this should be kind of the sentence that should be in every curriculum development room.
Right. It should be so obvious, but we don't apply it, right? I love that quote. Thank you so much for sharing. We we should know it. I mean, we know it, but we don't apply it, and that's why we need great edtech entrepreneurs like Sylvain, who are working towards the democratization of technology education, helping folks around the world to get a job in technology. Uh, our community learn about Sylvain. I'm going to put some links of his website and YouTube in our YouTube channel, on Spotify, on Apple Podcast, and wherever you're listening to your podcast. Learn about Holberton School, and let's inspire everyone to learn how to learn. Thank you very much for joining us, Sylvain.
Thank you, Kamal.